actually have a lot of initial memories that are tied to the library of my immigrant experience. I came to this country when I was 10 years old with my parents. I was born in Brazil. We came because my mom was having health issues and she needed to get treatment in New York. And Danbury was sort of like on the metro line, it was the last stop. Like, it was Brewster and then there was Danbury, and we knew that Connecticut would be cheaper than living in New York. So that's sort of like how we ended up here. And we were just lucky that there was a growing Brazilian community here as well. This was about 26 years ago. I came and it was hard. I did not speak English. My parents didn't speak English. We rented from Joe da Silva for many, many years. My dad worked construction, works to this day construction, but now he owns the company that he first got his job in, which is pretty cool. We used to work during the day, my parents, and then after school they'll pick us up. We will clean some houses, and then in the evening we would clean a supermarket in Carmel, New York named Grand Union, and then we'll go home. So we lived like that for the first couple of years of our lives, actually right around the block on Terrace Place, which is, a walking distance here from the library. And the library was sort of like the fun thing I got to do after school that my parents were okay with me doing, which was coming over here and hanging out at the children's department. And that's when I met Sue Horton and Mary Ellen, who then asked if I wanted to volunteer, and then I said yes. And I started volunteering by going through the Rosetta Stone program and learning all the levels so that then I can come in after school and help immigrants who were going through the Rosetta Stone program. So very early on, I had a relationship with the library, and it became the first non-educational setting as far as like a school that I had interaction with people who were Americans, because everything else was around my family's life and my parents' life. So I got to meet different adults here at the library and at school. It was tough at the beginning at Broadview. I had a very tough ESL teacher when I got here, Mrs. Salomon. I'll never forget her name. She would not allow us to use any other language other than English in the ESL classroom, which was tough because we were there because we had no English to pull from. So I ended up having to draw a lot and do a lot of sign language to just like function. But it was good in a sense that it really kind of pushed me to learn the language because I was very angry that I couldn't communicate, because as some people know about me in the community, I love talking, and that was not a good period of time when I couldn't talk. So that's sort of the beginning, the genesis of it all. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to do a quick closer. I'm going to just change this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And have you lived here your whole life since coming from Brazil? And tell us about how, like, after high school, how does your life blossom here in Danbury?
Sure. So I have two siblings. I have my older sister Elizabeth, who always had a heart for the city. Like, she was here, but her dreams were New York City, always. And she accomplished that. She started the newspaper with my mom. And then a couple of years after, she was accepted into a program at Columbia University for journalism, and then moved to the city. And she's there to this day in Westchester County, but working in the city. I have a younger brother who's 25, and I'm going to be 36 years old this year. And I always lived in Danbury. I did not go away for college. Out of my three siblings, out of our family, for some reason, I'm the one who completely fell in love with this town, and I am a nerd about it. Like, I love the Danbury Historical Society. I love Danbury Fun Facts. Like, I love Sybil downstairs on her horse kind of thing. I just really love the city. And I think a lot of that happened at Danbury High School. I think I just fell in love with the sense of community that I felt at Danbury High School. And I was also intrigued by these family last names and dynasties that I started to pick up on at high school that happened. And that was foreign to me. I thought it was just interesting that there were families that were really good at football, and there were families that were really good at art, and there are families that are always involved in theater. And it just wasn't a norm for me to see that when I looked at my experience in Brazil. So I just really got into it, and volunteering here that then kind of pushed me over to volunteer in other places as I got older, because it was my first volunteer experience here at the library. And I got to know more and more about Danbury and the people that lived in Danbury. So I never left. I went to Naugatuck, and then I went to Westcon. I had to drop out of Westcon when I was close to finishing because my mom had cancer. And I focused on helping her and being with her. And then I had to take over her responsibilities at the office when she wasn't well. And that's sort of how I transitioned into this position in a Tribuna, and I've been the editor for the past 10 years. And along that way, I've worked in the community, and then out of the Tribuna came our family foundation, and just really always trying to educate the immigrant community and also the general population about the new Danbury, this diverse Danbury that has changed so much over the 20 years that I've been here in the community. But the work in the Tribuna kind of became our church and our school and everything that we did in trying to connect the dots for people who came here a couple of days ago or came here generations ago, and just really trying to set the example of everyone sitting around the table and getting information at the same time. And then along that path, I probably have been a member of 15 to, actually it's more like 18 community boards of various nonprofits here in the community. Today I get to serve in our Board of Ed as a member, and try to make a difference in the way that we're focusing on education of the children in our community. And it's just surreal to me that I just came in as a 10-year-old that didn't speak English, and now I get to make and help make decisions for the district. So it's just a thing that I think that a lot of people credit to only in America. I credit to only in Danbury, because I think there's a very peculiar aspect to our city in how people are able to become a part of its history. You know, my life today, I have to say that I can't imagine myself living in a place other than Danbury. I want my son, who's 6, to grow up here and stay here as long as I can convince him to. And that's, I think, more dependent on what's going on with our state. And hopefully by the time that he's old enough to make those decisions, Connecticut will be a place where he chooses to be as well. And obviously, if he chooses Connecticut, he has no other choice than to choose Danbury, because his mom would be really upset if he didn't. But I'm happy, and I really enjoy being in this community. I want for Danbury to continue to be a place that in the next 20 years, I don't feel the need to go outside of it, because I feel like I've experienced the world here. I travel a lot. I do go out a lot out of our community and go to other countries, but I never felt the need that I needed to travel for me to get to know people from different parts of the world in my community, and I love that about us. I travel because it's good to travel and be immersed in somebody else's culture. But my best friend in high school is half Moroccan and half Israeli. I also had friends from Pakistan, India, countries in Africa that I didn't even know existed, all in my high school experience. And people that were young immigrants, so they're very much connected to their culture. It wasn't like a generational gap there. So they had different diets, they had different ways of expressing themselves, they wore different clothing. And it's just a wonderful community that is a city, acts like a town, but has this global pizzazz to it. I think that's the best way to describe it. And I hope that we keep that. But I also hope that in the future that our leadership reflects that diversity, so that we can be more mindful and more intentional about how we make decisions for the future that accommodates and continues to support that diversity. One of my dreams for Danbury, which I've been working on lately, is an international children's museum that I hope to establish here in town. It's a project that I've been working on for 3 years. It should take me another 7, so I hope that it's part of that future. I hope that we have a community that really understands the value of diversity that it brings to the world. Not in a superficial way to just say, oh, we have 50-something languages spoken, but to really understand what that means when it comes to relationships, when it comes to understanding how families work and how they interact with us in government. And that's the hopes of the museum that we are trying to create, that we're going to make sure that the next generation of Danburyans have a much deeper understanding of what the diversity means at a very early stage, so they can carry that with them throughout their experience here in the community. But I just love this town. I really do. And I hope that we continue to be who we are.
Excellent. Thank you.